Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Sorry for the that my other panelists aren't here. I have sent the links to their inboxes on Twitter as well as Discords, so they should uh have the link to the StreamYard in their messages if they would check it on time. Um, tonight's uncensored. Uh is a special one because this one is essentially a single topic, but it will have multiple subtopics because of how big this topic is. The topic essentially is Hollywood's influence and how they work with Washington, D.C. to push their agendas. And they have not just been doing this recently, folks. They have not just been doing this for since the 2010s. They've been doing this for quite some time. They've been doing this since I was a young person, since I was little. Because if you look at any of the movies out there that have any sort of political premise, Air Force One, Armageddon, um, Michael Bay movies, Armageddon, The Rock, and whatnot, all of these movies that have politics and presidents and senators and all that stuff, there is a very disturbing fact that you all are unaware of. And I will get into that once my panelists show up. And if they don't show up within the next few minutes, well, then I do apologize for their tardiness. It is rather unsettling and kind of unbalancing since they all knew that the stream was tonight. Um, hold on 1 second, folks. I'm gonna try messaging them one last time. Okie dokie. Got one person who. All right. So Janet is restarting her computer. So she is on her way in. Still waiting on the others. I do apologize again, folks, for the delay. So it seems that we have some people watching from YouTube and from X, because this is both going on both X and YouTube. So yes, I am going to wait for my panel a little bit. So if you are in the chat, say hello. Let me know that you guys are here and whatnot. So yep. Okay, Ruben's coming in. Now kind of waiting on Kate too. Hopefully she's coming. And well, unfortunately, There must have been a miscommunication on the timing. So, Hollywood, folks. I have a list of some of the shows and whatnot that I'm going to be discussing. If you watch shows on CBS, if you watch shows on ABC, Fox, and all of those mainstream channels, all those main TV channels and whatnot, TV studios and whatnot, shows like Bones, Castle, House, The Shield, Equalizer, uh, Equalizer definitely today. Shows like Legends of Tomorrow, Law and Order SVU, The Way Home from the Hallmark Channel, FBI, FBI Most Wanted, FBI International, Supergirl. All of these shows all have one major thing in common. They are all a part of a political agenda in Hollywood. And one of my panelists has arrived. Hello, Ruben.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sorry about that. It's been my head. I fell down.
Bumped your head?
Yeah, literally, I did. Gosh,
That's right. It happens. Okay, I forgive you.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't see anything. No, it happened this morning. I was doing laundry, and then suddenly I was, I didn't sleep, so I kept on like icing it down because I fell and hit my head. If my head hit the wall, I would have gone through the wall, sheetrock, but I hit a support beam instead, so I bounced off of it.
Bigger boom. Ouch.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So essentially the topic is tonight, it's Hollywood's influence and how they are actually working with Washington, D.C. to push their agendas.
Oh, yeah.
And how this has not been a recent thing. This isn't a recent thing. This has been going on for decades. I mean, now that we actually have one of the panelists here, and I will remind people of it, as more panelists stroll in. Janet's computer restart is going on right now. And Kate apparently must have fallen asleep. So it happens. But yes, movies that have political like themes in them, like Air Force One, Armageddon, The Rock, where they have the president and whatnot. And you've seen all those movies, yes?
Yep.
Did you know that in every one of those movies, unless it is specifically stated that the president or the president's party is Republican, that they are automatically Democrat?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is something that a lot of most general moviegoers do not know, because this is actually something that, I mean, it's actually been admitted by the Biden administration that his administration is going to be working with television studios and television to actually push their agenda. He was the idiot that said it out loud. But this has actually been going on for years, folks. He was the one that actually said, we're going to be working with our partners in Hollywood to knock down whiteness in our commercials and our movies. We're going to make it so that we are going to basically indoctrinate you. He didn't say that himself, but the point of this is they are going to be pushing, if they can't push their social agendas and get them accepted through politics, they will use entertainment to do it. Now, fortunately, there are people like us who are actually pushing against these narratives, who are actually not going along with them, and we are expressing our displeasement and displeasure with these studios by, well, letting them know in our reviews we don't appreciate this stuff being crammed down our throats. And I mean, let me get back to my list. One of my favorite, and I do mean favorite, examples of the political messaging is Supergirl. When I binge watched Supergirl to the point where they were at their, I never watched all the way through, but I did watch enough of it to see a lot of this stuff going on, up to the Crisis of Infinite Earths arc. Supergirl, its first season was okay. Its first season was pretty good. except that when its second season rolled around to the CW, which used to be Warner Brothers or WB, but then turned into the CW, you had lines like, "Oh, just please tell me you're still a Democrat." The President of the United States, which was played by Linda Carter, the original Wonder Woman, was an alien from outer space, and she had to be removed from office because, well, she was an alien. And then they put in, I shit you not, this guy with blonde hair. In the third season, they were actually pushing this stuff, folks. They actually pushed the wall. There's just one problem. When they started pushing the wall thing, they actually still had their female Democratic president in office. So it was kind of a shooting themselves in the foot with not just a BB gun, but a shotgun and blowing their whole fucking foot off. Because it's like, they're building a wall to keep the wetbacks out. It's like, isn't your president currently a Democrat? And a female. And you guys wanted to push this stuff? I mean, it gets worse because they also started pushing the fake sciences, like a transgender who transitioned from boy to girl and yet is somehow able to have kids and procreate, because that character has descendants in the far future in which they are her heroes too. So they started pushing they also started pushing the false transgender agenda stuff. But but when it comes to shows like Bones, Castle, House, The Shield, shows that were before the woke time period, before things started getting really bad, you will hear hints inside of those shows that shows you where they aligned politically. If you look at the show House MD, you've seen that show?
Yes, very well reversed.
Love that show.
Yeah, one of my favorite shows of all time. I actually have all the seasons.
Nice. Me personally, I like the show. I love the show. There were a couple episodes during 2008 and then later on in 2012. I think the show ended before 2012. But in 2008, when the show was going on, they had in certain shots, vote for change, Obama 08, and stuff like that. Messaging in a freaking toiletry place of all places in one of those scenes. And this was actually sprinkled in the throughout the show or during the political season. You have shows like The Shield. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
With Michael Chiklis?
Mm-hmm.
And that corrupt they're corrupt cops, and what's his name also becomes corrupt. The one who played, or the Hispanic guy, the Hispanic captain, who had a very bad experience because he went into a place without backup. Well, they made no bones about change or about pushing political narrative. Democrat versus Republican, flip or keeping the area blue, and how Republicans were more in the camp of pushing law and order and being less compassionate. I mean, these are things that are really noticeable if you pay attention as an adult to these shows. What do you think about all this so far?
Well, the government it's all part of the military industrial complex. They are responsible for this. It's all about, propaganda. propaganda for pushing a certain message. It's just basically propaganda and marketing for, you know. I'm looking at a list right now. I'm dumbfounded by the list of movies that in my mind I would think wouldn't have. It's a list of movies that have been co-written, scripted by the Department of Defense, and the movies on this list. Some of them I'm going. Okay, well, some of them you would think, duh. Air Force One, Apollo 13, Armageddon, Batman and Robin.
The fuck?
I know. Battleship, Behind Enemy Lines, Black Hawk Down, Captain Phillips, Deep Impact, Godzilla, 96, or 98,
or 98 rather.
98, right?
Yeah, 98.
Green Berets, I Am Legend.
Any movies that involved military. Or any movies that involve military presence and personnel.
Yeah. Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, The Jackal, James Bond films, The Goldfinger, Thunderball, License to Kill, GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, Jurassic Park 2, The Karate Kid Part 2, for some reason. The next Karate Kid.
King Kong. Yep, there was military in both of those ones.
King Kong the remake in 2005. Midway in 2019, Last Action Hero in 1983. 1983, I'm sorry. Red Dawn, The Silence of the Lambs. Oh, yeah, because it was the FBI. Star Trek 4, Top Gun Maverick, the Transformers films. Transformers.
Obviously them, yeah.
Original
they had Obama in in the second movie.
Oh my God. True Lies, Wonder Woman 1984, and Wings. That's just a short list. It says here there are over 410 Department of Defense sponsored movies. The CIA, the military, anything like that. I know that one of them out there also that it was a very big thing was The Recruit, the one with Al Pacino and I believe it was I don't remember, but again, they put these movies out there to promote, you know, joining the Navy and getting involved in the military, but then pushing a narrative as well. But it's all part of the military-industrial complex. They try and set that out there. Where again, it's like
some of it was subtle, though. Admittedly,
yeah, it's subtle. But again, there are bad guys out there. They're doing bad things. We have to stop them, and then it's a rallying cry to get it done. But again, it's very subversive in a way. It's Zero Dark 30. They said it also here, but again, it's just basically nothing is pure anymore. Remember, these films I listed, co-written, co-scripted with the Department of Defense. That's crazy, in my opinion. I don't know. And also music videos. Katy Perry's music videos, YouTube videos that are out there, people that put things out. Yeah, it just, I'm going video games too. I remember because I don't play video games, but one of the first video games I did play, but it was back in 2002, was called America's Army. It was made by the Army. And when somebody says this is a recruiting tool, it's a video game and it's free, and we played it, we're just having fun with all the official military gear, we know it's co-sponsored. It says there it's part of the Army, and you can say you can forgive that because again you're using the actual guns, the actual way to do things, the training. They implemented some of those things in there. And again, I'm a military brat. My father's in the Navy. My brother's a Marine Corps vet. My grandfather, my step-grandfather on my father's side was a Navy guy too. So my grandfather, my actual father's father was a police officer. So there is some idea of public service is very important. And these tools are doing it. And in fact, for full disclosure, for a good time of my father's tenure in the Navy, he was a Navy recruiter. And he felt it as something as, hey, get in there, change your life, help you get a trade, learn something and do that. And he was very, very proud of that, to get people involved. And he went back and he retired. People that were in the Navy who were in there like 10, 20 years, as like he was, came back and thanked him for his service and thanked him for believing in a child to do something. So there are some good aspects of it, but again, when
Yeah.
it's very much propagandized, it can be very bad, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's the thing, folks. When it comes to these shows where they love to say, oh, democracy, or when they're speaking about America and saying democracy is such a beautiful thing or wondrous thing. I mean, I'm watching the show Sleepy Hollow with my mom or now. We watch shows sometimes during the day, and we got into Sleepy Hollow. And in the show, Ichabod Crane basically was resurrected 200 years or 250 years in the future after 1781, which would actually put him in the 2030s instead of the 2010s. But so it's more like 2030 or 230 odd years in the future. But anyway, I heard one line where he's like, democracy is such a wonderful thing. And it's like, if you were alive during the founding fathers, you would know the founding fathers wanted nothing to do with democracy except for the practice of a vote.
Right.
Except for surrendering the state or states to popular vote and whatnot. That's it. But you should have known we were, and we still are, a republic. You never hear the word republic, just as you will never see the word Democrat in the 50 state constitutions, as well as our own or the federal constitution and the Declaration of Independence. You will not ever see or hear the word republic in most of these shows, or unless it is used in a negative connotation. In the show Bones, there was this shadow government. And yeah, they were talking about the republic and how our founding fathers wanted pro-capitalism, and basically talking about how they were to steer and affect or guide the people in capitalism, and basically making it sound really evil.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, no, that's capitalism is a free and fair bit, yes, to our country, yes. But open market capitalism is actually a lot less corruptible. I mean, yes, you do have corruption in it, and unfortunately, it can lead to corruption in our government. Both Republicans and Democrats are corrupt, in my opinion. But when you are talking about how our country is a republic, it is because it was bound by law. It is a country of law. It is not meant to be a country based on feelings and based on majority rule, which is what a democracy is. Democracy is this is acknowledged by our founding fathers, mind you, folks. The people who signed the Declaration of Independence, some of the people who became our world leader or our country's leaders, they hated the concept of democracy because they knew it was a suicidal venture. Democracies are inherently suicidal.
Yeah, in my opinion, the French Revolution was more democratic because basically they said the majority of us want these people dead, and they did it because that was what the majority wanted, and it was very bloody.
Mm-hmm. And as you also hear our world leaders in Washington, D.C. throughout the years saying that we are helping Iran and all of them install a new government, a democracy and whatnot. And you also will hear it in shows like Bones and Castle and all of this stuff where they talk about democracy. Except that why is America installing democracies in different parts of the world? Well, that's because they want to change the language. Now, a lot of people think that the government has been changing the language recently. No. This shit's been happening since even before 1984, when Orwell actually warned everybody what was going on. But he also said it was going to happen in the future, and lo and behold, Orwell was actually right in 1984. They're notice how kids are more interested in rap music, movies. They're less interested in history. They're getting their historical contexts from movies, which never get your history from movies, folks. Hollywood is not an accuracy is not something that Hollywood loves to push. Discernment is a dirty word, like the only sin in California is slowing down on the freeway. Okay, Conroy, it's good to see you, by the way. But yeah, when it comes to them constantly saying democracy, 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 people, in my opinion, if you are going to push that kind of messaging in entertainment, you are a traitor to the United States. In my opinion, you do not have the betterment of the United States at all in your heart or in mind. You want to change the government as well as society to follow this false doctrine, to follow this false idol. I wish I had one of my more religious friends in here from the Barroom podcast, because you know what? Our official government, when it was founded, was, yes, it was a very Christian. It was a very Christian government. It was a very God-fearing government. It was a very God-fearing country at the time. Nowadays, well, we do see that in some entertainment. They like to bring in things that are against God. Yes, you have all of those possession movies in which the demon is exorcised and God wins and whatnot, and yay for the Christian and Catholic faith. But here's the thing. They are still showing you the temptation of it all. They are still pushing that stuff in the movies. The Ninth Gate. Frickin' what's his name? Who left the United States because if he comes back to the United States, he's going to be tried for
Roman Polanski.
Yep, Polanski.
Yeah.
He will be tried for some very disgusting things, let's just say. And that is another thing, folks. People don't realize that Hollywood's influence is very strong. A lot of people are like, oh, they're only movies. No, they're not. They are one of the most successful politically propagandized mediums in the world today. China will not allow any movie that is pro-America to do well in their box office. In fact, they will actually outright ban certain movies like The Joker because it was inciting riots and whatnot, according to them. They outright banned Top Gun Maverick, mainly because of a flag that was put back into a film. It's like, you guys are going to have to change it. And, well, Paramount did change it in the trailers. But then the movie came out. And just as about China was ready to release the movie in theaters, they realized, oh, shit, that flag is still in here. We are not going to allow you to push that movie. Well, Top Gun made $1 billion without China. Joker made $1 billion without China. And the fact that Joker made $1 billion when our entire press corps was against that film, when our own government was against that film, when China refused to do it. And that movie didn't just make $1 billion, it also beat out the last Star Wars movie that was released.
Yeah, and all the violence that Joker was supposed to have actually the actual violence happened through, what was it? Frozen 2 had shooting going on.
Yeah, Frozen 2, John Wick, and all those other movies had way more violence and shit than Joker. Joker had 6 people die in that movie. And yet everybody's like, or Or it's like, oh, it's going to be this super violent thing. It's like, no, it isn't, man. Not if you pay attention to that movie. Now, I'm not saying that people should go out and riot in the streets. No, I have condemned that sort of behavior because that is illegal.
Yeah.
But if you also know or notice, they're not exactly saying that this shit is not something you should do either. I mean, me personally, if I made a movie like The Joker, I would also put at the end of the credits, while this movie does display a stand against authority, we do not approve of rioting in the streets and killing people. That is not the way you solve problems.
But that was a whole narrative, the whole, the media's boogeyman. They're always trying to find a boogeyman. The boogeyman right after Trump was elected was the whole incel. And that's what that movie brought in part. So they're just trying to go after, and it's basically all planned where they say, okay, well, like again, all the violence. They say that Trump gets into office, there'll be violence. And now this movie coming out right before the pandemic, of course, and then it's going to be incel violence. And then you have the riots that happened in 2020, Summer of Love. And then you have the media. We're going out there and saying, why shouldn't you say your voice be heard? Get out there and do it. And then January 6th happens. And then everyone says, oh, it's insurrection. That's bad. Again, when you have the news, the media, and culture saying how bad things are, and that movie, the Civil War, Tim Pool's favorite movie, where they were saying the Antifa massacre in it, and they're trying to push things out there, and you had the thing now so not coordinated, but coordinated, these sit-ins that are going on. How the hell do they all have the same tent? How they all are doing it at the same time? They're communicating, they're doing things. You're free to communicate, you're free to assemble, but it's not natural. They say that sometimes it's astroturf when you have people that are out there doing it on the right. No, they're the astroturf. They're the ones that are doing it. And that girl came out there and didn't even know what she was protesting.
Yeah.
Insane. But again, the way that Hollywood has influenced these people to believe certain things through media, their music industry, my God, I mean, how that is, how they Ice Cube came out and said how they caused the East Coast, West Coast problems because they wanted the wars. They wanted the drugs that are going on. The movies are out there are glorifying these certain things, be it military, be it gang culture, whatever. TV shows as well. So it's, again, the media industrial complex is alive and well, and the military industrial complex on top of it creates all these problems, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you also have, let me pull this list back up again. Legends of Tomorrow from the CW. You've seen that show or heard of it at least?
Yeah.
Well, there's episodes in it where they have to go back in time and rescue Barack Obama from Grodd, Gorilla Grodd. And Gorilla Grodd literally says, we're going to make America Grodd again.
Ooh. Oh,
M-A-G-A, MAGA.
Oh, no.
And it's like, could you be any more on the nose?
Wow.
And you have all of the Legends of Tomorrow heroes kissing up to college Obama and saying, oh, you are the most important president in our future or in the future and whatnot. It's like, dear fucking God.
Wow. That's crazy.
Well, thanks to the Legends of Tomorrow, who influenced Barack Obama, we can blame the Legends of Tomorrow for tanking our economy back when Obama was in office for the recession that he brought us in, and other things that happened as well.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's shows like that. Law and Order SVU, which I talked about, I do believe, on one of the uncensored streams that we did, or one of the shit show episodes that we did, where there was the episode where a woman gets raped by a black guy. but she doesn't want to turn him in because of an institutionalized racism. Can you believe that, folks? Now, obviously, she was finally convinced to turn him in and whatnot. But it's like, are you serious? Oh, and these people who are cops, well, we acknowledge that that the system is rigged against black people. They said that in the show. And yet, not enough people are speaking out against this. I mean, you have me, Ruben, and others, sure. But the general TV showgoer needs to actually make their voices heard a little bit more. I warned people back in 2019, 2020, when Cuties was becoming a thing on Netflix, that if Cuties was to ever get normalized, that there would be a very big push for more sexualization and more sexualized content that involved children. And they are now operating in more creative ways to get over or to basically loophole the pedophilia argument in entertainment. Look at the movie Poor Things with Emma Stone. How everybody says, oh, it's so stunning and brave. She deserves an Oscar and an Emmy and a Tony and all of those others. Hey, good evening, Riot and Annihilus. Good to see you. Yes, that was a episode of Law and Order SVU. That one episode where basically, they said that cops are racist and you should be able to get away with sexual assault and rape if you are black. That is basically what that show said or was saying with that kind of messaging in the show. And yes, people were like, well, yeah, they still arrested the guy though. After the cops had to basically break this woman's arm, convincing or verbally wise, to actually get her to turn him in. You still have that messaging. Well, cops are racist, and if this person gets arrested, he's going to suffer in jail because he's black. I'm sorry, I don't. It really is. You also have shows like SWAT. Good show for the most part. However, it's in California and takes place in LA. And LA, well, is kind of a shithole right now.
Right.
And yet they're saying, or there's like, yeah, we know that there's a lot of problems with racism and yada yada. And it's like, shut up. If cops were racist, folks, there would only be one race of cops.
True.
There would only be white or black or Hispanic or Asian or other. There wouldn't be a diverse menagerie of police officers. Because, I mean, when they say, oh, it's racist and whatnot, how is it racist for a black cop to arrest a black perpetrator when a black perpetrator breaks the law? How is it racist for a white cop to arrest a white, or is it racist for a white cop to arrest a white person or a white person or a white cop to arrest a black person? No, it's not racist at all. I mean, I love how they also showed in movies like Volcano. They had the racist cop arresting somebody who was calling for help because it's like, oh, we got fires down in this area that we need help with. And then the cop, after needing a lot of help, and the black guy finally comes in to help, he finally says, they need help over there, and houses are burning. And it's like, really? I mean, it's glad that the guy got over his racism, but it's like, why even have that? If entertainment really wants to help get rid of racism, they need to stop showing racism. They actually need to show that people can work together no matter what it is. And instead of making people victims, they stop showing the victim part of it. Show what America can aspire to instead of keeping us dragged down all the time.
But the thing is
When
that
you have, go
no,
ahead.
but this is to go to your point in the way that of about even modern what's going on now. Just today or yesterday, Drew Barrymore, I think it was probably today, she had Kamala Harris on, and the way she told Kamala Harris is, "We need a mamala, and we want you to be mom." They are basically it's serious. They're basically the Hollywood is now, again, under the influence of the Biden administration, trying to prop up Kamala Harris as the mother of the United States and Biden as the father. Going to what you had said before, taking God out of the equation, making government the God, and the figureheads as our leaders, as our mothers and fathers, and having no accountability and having the hive mind run everything, so that they can continue to spew out everything they can on MSNBC, the news, everything on the commercials. Because again, turn on any commercial now, you see a commercial. It's a black mom with a Asian dad, and then and a biracial kid or whatever. It's never white, never all black. Well, maybe it's all black, but it's all crazy. And the things that are out there keeps pushing this stupid narrative that everyone's totally diverse. No, people tend to be with their own kind. It doesn't. There's no mixing going on. I don't care who it is or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. That's why I don't watch this shit anymore. I read, and I can put anything in my own head. I don't need to see myself in anything. It's insane. But the thing is that the government has been doing this for so long, and it's getting insane.
And I just think that it is absolutely disturbing that these sort of things happen. I guess not making everything about racism. Like I remember an episode of Bull where a custody battle was taking place. Surprisingly, the black couple was not rewarded custody for claiming racism. Interesting, right? I mean, yes, they do also have the opposite messages as well, but those are so few and far between. I mean, if you look at House MD with Hugh Laurie and Omar Epps, oh my God, there's a lot of freaking Omar Epps is such a freaking victim carder. That dude swipes his victim card almost 3 times a week or 3 times every 2 episodes. I mean, it's like, I'm a black guy looking for a job. They aren't going to hire a black guy. It's like, shut the fuck up. Your credentials are enough to get you where you need to go, dude.
Yeah, but House did always say,
oh yeah, House fucking buggered him all the time with it. He was always fucking with.
Why don't you go and break it? I know, of course he was. That's the whole point. You do that. Go ahead and break it into this prison. It should be easy for you.
Yeah, it's like, he's always fucking with him. He was also fucking with, or House is a not a misandrist. He's a he's a misanthrope. Misanthropic. He hates humans. He doesn't care if they're lesbian, black, green, blue, yellow, red, whatever. If you are human in any shape, way, or form, he will fuck with you.
Right.
And so that is all, or nobody, or that part isn't the identity politics. Because identity politics, folks, and I have said this and I will freaking die on this hill. Identity politics, when brought down to its brass text, when brought down to its most basic level, is the same as the slave trades, as the slave auctions throughout history, where they put a person based on their identity or based on their ability to do something or how they looked or whatever, and people paid money for them to work them, to do or to entertain them, to work them, to do something for them as property. What do we do in Hollywood? Or what is Hollywood doing with this movies like Captain Marvel? They're putting her up on a pedestal saying pay to watch this movie so you can be entertained, pay to own this movie because the hero is in it. How is that any different? How is it any different when brought down to the most basic level? Although I also remember the exact opposite of the name of a show that I do not recall, where a black woman was rewarded custody for claiming racism. 5 years prior, she nearly killed her child. Yeah. My boss is a woman. I was a chick in the 40. Oh, yeah. That's from Alucard from whatchamacallit. And that's another thing, folks. When you actually look at Hellsing Ultimate Abridged from Team 4-Star, you know, they actually did a wonderful commentary of their episodes where the Hellsing Ultimate Abridged Team 4-Star crew gets on there, talks about each episodes. Listen to what they're saying. Oh, those very fine people from the Nazi army. That was that was made after Charlottesville, that episode. So they were pushing that false propaganda. So yes, Team 4-Star, I am going to call you out for this. You pushed false propaganda because you wanted to, or because we all also know where you stand politically. Now, and you know what? I don't care where you stand politically, but if you are going to push any sort of commentary, or if you are going to push any sort of real world bullshit, man, make it politically ambiguous. Make it politically androgynous. Don't say one thing or another. Don't do the trigger shit, man. Because honestly, that just shows, or that's just going to show where you lie politically, and people aren't going to watch you in the future. I mean, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love all of the insane, dark humor that they had in that show. And they're all saying during the, they're all apologizing during the commentary of the show. We're sorry, these are some sensitive jokes. It's like, stop apologizing for that shit. People need to grow a spine. People need to understand that people aren't going to care about your feelings.
Yeah.
It is all right for you to, or the Saris Victoria, the person who did the voice for Saris Victoria in that show, well, she is a he now. And you know what? I have no problem with that. The person is a transgender. I don't give a shit. Did a good job playing Saris Victoria. But when they're when you see one of these guys, the voice of Alucard, that is, saying that he likes freaking AOC of all people, it's like, oh my god, why did you have to put this sort of shit in your freaking commentary? I mean, look at what AOC did to her congressional district. It's a fucking shithole.
Yeah, she fought to get Amazon out of there, remember?
No, it wasn't even her district that she was fighting to get Amazon out of.
New York itself, right?
She was didn't want Amazon to provide jobs for people in District 14, I believe, or 15, I do believe it is. She's District 14, and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Fine, bring it up to the conservative area, like in the Adirondacks. We have a town called Tupper Lake. Could use a little bit of an economic boost right now. And they have the perfect place for an Amazon facility. Literally. They have a perfect place for an Amazon facility. If you were to create that, or if you were to level the building areas of that area, or of that, because those buildings are condemned, level that area, build up your facility, and offer people jobs in that area, damn right, you would have a lot of good stuff going in and out of there, man.
I don't know.
I mean, there's an Amazon facility down in Liverpool, New York, which is why we get some of our stuff really quick up here, even if you don't have Amazon Prime. Separate the voice from the voice actor. Yeah, I mean, I can do that, and that's all fine and good and dandy, but when they are actually putting their own political bias in their content themselves, it makes it harder to do, Annihilus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem with all of this entertainment, is that, again, I'm going to remind people, when there is a politically themed show or movie or anything like that, where you have a politician, if the politician is villainous, they are a Republican, a right-winger, an extremist. And those words will be put in there. He's a far-right conservative, yada, yada, yada. And hey,
or they'll make a subtle reference to it, because they did that. I remember I was watching I stopped watching it, but the Blacklist, where that one lady that was doing bad things in Washington D.C., and they showed pictures of Ted Cruz and they photoshopped him in with her. I'm going, that didn't happen. What'd you do there? She wasn't consent this. It was crazy. It's Janet.
How you doing?
Hi, sorry, I've been having a lot of problems with my internet and stuff.
That's understandable. If there's internet problems, I get it. I can understand that, because I used to have them too.
Sometimes it's like it goes in waves, like it's really good for a few weeks and then it just shit for days or a week. You know what I mean? But so what are you guys talking about? What did I miss?
Essentially, to give you a recap, we're talking, and we can even talk about it to get your thoughts on it. Have you ever seen the show Bones?
Yeah, that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
2010s or 2000s to 2010s.
Yeah, it had a really genius, like forensic scientist or something, and a cop. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and then she had a team that helped them solve cases and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
You've also seen the show Castle House, or have you seen Castle? And House.
I think was Castle the guy that was in the sci-fi?
He was he was in Firefly.
Okay, Firefly. Yeah. Then
Nick
yes,
Fillion.
I've
He
seen
played a
some
writer
episodes.
in Castle. Yeah,
just some, not a lot.
Yeah. Well, in Castle, he was the main character.
Okay.
And shows like Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know all of these shows, and Supergirl as well, all of these shows have in common when they have political characters in it, like senators or presidents or whatever, that the president or that these characters, if they are villainous, they are Republican. If they are heroic or whatever, they are Democrat.
I never really noticed or paid attention to that part of it.
It is the unspoken rule in Hollywood that if there is a positive character, they are Democrat. If there is a negative fringe character, they are Republican. And that was actually in a few episodes of Bones. Hell, Bones even acknowledged that Donald Trump is saying that he might run for president. Back in 2013, they had that episode, and it's like, we would really be screwed if that happened. It's like, why would we? Or why would you? I mean, at that point, there or in Castle, right, Kitty, you may never have noticed it, but in Castle, there was the person who was running for president of the United States who had killed the detective's mother. And he was, or the stuff he was running on was the extreme exaggerations of right-wing policies. And also in the show Bones, there's the episodes where there's this guy who got murdered, and he was a talk show host. He was, or they said he is an extreme far-right conservative. And also shows like FBI International, and FBI Most Wanted. Sometimes I catch episodes that my mom watches because she loves those shows, and that's fine. I have no problem. I'm not going to tell her what she can and cannot watch. That would be rude. But I noticed some of the stuff that they put in these shows. every time there's an extremist in these shows where they are saying that they are against the government in any shape, way, or form, it's a right-wing thing. They always clarify it is a right-wing problem, or that these people are right-wingers. It has been more obvious in shows today than back in the 2010s and 2000 or 2000s and 2010s, where when they actually show these things, and it's like you hear the word democracy a lot in these shows. America, or America's democracy. They're trying to put a democracy over in Afghanistan and Iran and whatnot. You never hear America called a republic in any Hollywood production.
Yeah, it pissed me off that Doctor Who did it too. Doctor Who actually mentioned Trump.
Yeah, they'll do that.
The one character that was supposed to be the Trump proxy actually said, "Oh, you're just running for president because if Trump was president." Yeah, don't mention that name. I want to hear his name. And then who else did it? That was stupid. Lucifer did it.
Well, there was a.
Oh yeah, Lucifer mentioned Trump.
That recent show, the one about what was the one where they were hunting down people and shooting them or something?
Oh, The Hunted?
No, is that what it was called? It was like conservatives that they were trapping and releasing.
They were trapping conservatives. But if you look at that, The Hunt. If you look at that movie, though, the people that they are hunting down are conservatives, but it's liberals who are actually the villains. And it's like, well,
okay, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So there are a few things out there, even like The Purge. Okay, the movie The Purge.
Right.
Was it like that too? Was it left leaning? They made all
those movies are extremely left leaning. Those movies are extremely left leaning because it shows that a failure of government because of right wing policy.
Okay, see, the thing is, I'm 100% behind you when you were talking about the everybody saying democracy. They say it that way on purpose to brainwash you into just thinking democracy. Every single news corporation does that. Even Tucker does. Every single time Tucker does that, I retweet it and say, we do not live in a democracy. We live in constitutional republic. I say it every single time because I get tired of it. But they're not even teaching that it's called a constitutional republic in school.
Nope.
So when a kid hears democracy over and over again, they're not realizing, we're destroying their democracy.
Yeah, and everybody's like, they're a threat to democracy. I want to be a threat to democracy. It's like, I want to be a threat to democracy because that is the one thing our founding fathers never wanted. Have you ever heard of the show Sleepy Hollow?
The movie.
Well, there's the movie, yes, with Johnny Depp.
And then there was another movie with Johnny Depp.
Yeah. There was another one, or there's a show that I'm watching with my mom, the TV show.
No, I never saw that.
Well, this one has Ichabod Crane 230 years in the future, although they say it's 250. But even he lived during the time of the founding fathers. And he even called America a democracy. It's like, if you lived during the time of the founding fathers, you would have known flat out. If you were there during the signing of the Declaration of Independence, you would have known flat out. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
A couple of TV shows. There was a show called, it was by Penn and Teller. It was called
Bullshit.
Bullshit. And I've seen 2 or 3 of them where they had people walking around with clipboards telling people we need to get rid of hydrogen. It's something about water, H2O, but they were saying it in the
hydrogen dioxide.
Hydrogen dioxide or whatever in our drinking. It's set up in our systems and it's in our drinking water and all this kind of stuff. And
they were saying it's corrosive. It too much of it can kill you.
Yeah, they were saying
it's
all this
found
different
every
stuff, but people were signing it, the documentation, and they also did another
Let me
one
pull that
where
up.
they
Let me
had
find out what it is.
a restaurant, and then people would come in and they had the waiters with the little towel on their arms, and they'd come up and say, "This is our." They had special water, okay, and they had some that supposedly melted iceberg, and then they had water from like waterfalls in like New Guinea and just all these different places. And they were letting people, they were saying, we're having a special, you can get 2 for 1. So the wife would get this kind and the husband would get this other water. They'd bring it out and they'd pour it in. They were both drinking it and they were saying how good it was, and they were tasting each other's and saying how different it tasted. Then they took the cameras in the back and they were showing the guys filling all the bottles with the garden hose. And then going back in there, all of it's in here. It's in your imagination, because if you're told something enough, you believe it. So see, I just used to love their show, and I go see them every time I go to Vegas, because they're geniuses when it comes to trying to explain of how people are talked into things simply because it's fashionable or because your friend is doing it. All this stuff. People just do that. They fall. I was trying to find something on my X about this conformity type stuff. It's some studies they did, and they bring a group of people into a room, and then they have a big like a chalkboard to write on and stuff, and they'd have a person in a white coat to make them look official, right? And then they'd have everyone's in on it but the one person, the one subject. They don't know it. And then they'd say, okay, here's 4 lines on here, and I'm going to point at the different lines, and you tell me which one's the tallest or which one's the shortest or whatever. So they would point, and he'd say it, and then the other people would say the same thing, what it was. Then the next one he would do, he would say, this one is the shortest. The guy would point at it, and the guy would say, yeah, that one's the shortest. And then the other people would say, no, that one's shorter. And then the other people were all saying the other one was shorter. So the next time it went around, when they went to those people first, and they said, this one's the tallest one, he would say, yeah, that's the tallest. Even though you could tell he was looking at it and knew it wasn't, but he was going along with the crowd because he didn't want to stand out. He didn't want to be the odd man out.
The one that was more...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the one that was more prevalent is when they basically had basically the waiting room, and then the trigger was ding, and then everyone would stand up.
Yeah.
So then basically they had like 5 people in there, and then this guy comes in there, and then ding, and then they all 5 start stand up. He would just sit there. And then someone else would come in, and then ding, and then they would stand up. And then eventually he started standing up. And I'm going again, but again, that's the thing. If you, it's an offshoot of, it was the John Quinones ABC 2020. What would you do thing, where people tend to not do something unless someone does something. So it's very easy if everyone's like rioting, that you're going to riot. Like if everyone's protesting, you're going to protest, because that's what they know. They've done social engineering on this. That is why you have what you have on college campuses now. Now, I have never done that, because again, I remember
I'll be right back. I'm just looking in my bookmarks. I'll be right back, but I'm listening.
Yeah, and the one thing I remember is like growing up, in kindergarten, they would go, okay, everyone sit down Indian style. Everyone sit down on the floor, and I said no. Because I don't sit down on the floor. I'm not a peasant. I'm gonna sit in the chair. And everyone did it but me. I've been the outlier for my entire life. I will never conform to anything like that. If everyone's doing something, I know it's wrong. So that's why I knew right away, when everything they were talking about the last 4 years, it's bullshit. In my entire life, I have never been like that. And I will not do it. I will not do what everyone else does. I do everything in my entire life is not normal. It's not what everyone does. I have never understood and never succumbed to peer pressure. I still don't understand it. There's nothing, again, it's like, I don't get it. But that's the whole thing. But the thing is that sociologists have known this for many, many years. And then they've been using that to manipulate people, to conform to do certain things. And that goes to as simple as, oh, you're gonna drink this, and it's important. The choices I have, what I drink is because I like the way it tastes. It has nothing to do with the marketing of it. Like basically say Coke or Pepsi. I like Coke because I like the way Coke tastes. I hate Pepsi. It tastes like shit. And I don't care if Kylie Jenner or there's some thing out there doing it. I want what I want. If it's something tastes good, or if it's a good product, I'm going to use it, and I'm not going to follow for anything like that. And this whole thing is like, again, I see the propaganda, and I don't want to fall for it anymore. I'm done with it, completely. It's crazy.
Yep. Now, Janet,
that's good. Yeah. I'm still trying to find it. Sorry, I got so many bookmarks. It's amazing.
Yeah. The show Legends of Tomorrow. Did you ever see that show? It was from CW.
It sounds familiar, but what's it about?
It was characters from DC universe going back in time to save or to keep history in line and whatnot. They had to, in one of their seasons, they had to save Barack Obama.
Oh no, I haven't seen this.
And there's a villain called Gorilla Grodd. He's a telepathic gorilla. And he literally says, "We're going to make America Grodd again." MAGA, MAGA.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was some of the most overt that they did, folks, with the 2017, 2018 stuff, where they had to save democracy by going back to save Obama because Trump is going to be a dictator and all that stuff. And yet he never has been. Supergirl, to give you, or because we were discussing this earlier, Supergirl had the third season where one of the lesbian characters had her father coming up bitching at her, saying that, oh, they're building a wall to keep us out, to keep the wetbacks out and whatnot. And he's Hispanic and she is, or the character is too. And yet at that time, when he was talking about the wall being built, they had a Democratic president who was also female. So it's like, holy shit, you kind of shot yourself in the foot, but you didn't just shoot yourself in the foot with like a 22. You shot it off with a 12-gauge shotgun. You blew off your toes. You blew off your
heel. They were just trying to show that women can be bitches and want to take your shit. I don't know.
Right? I mean,
but I sent you a message in that you can share in the X in our Friday Night Shit Show.
All right, let me check.
And it's the one about the conformity tests and stuff. It's a real scientific study. I don't remember what year it came out, but they did this to see. That's why what they were talking about when Facebook was first started, and Twitter, how they were used by the government to see how people reacted to things and to follow people and to get information from you.
PragerU does that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. So all of this is connected. You got to remember, Hollywood has had the government involved since the very beginning, making scripts, doing all kinds of stuff. What is it?
Tomorrow we'll be talking about the film Blink Twice, a film about billionaires killing people on private islands. Reality portrayed as fiction.
Oh, geez.
And that's the thing. Also, a part of Supergirl was they had a character who was the president after their president got removed from office because she was an alien, an actual extraterrestrial alien, played by Linda Carter, by the way. They had this very Trumpian guy put in, and he even had the blonde hair and whatnot, and he was working with Russia.
Oh, dear God.
I mean, this is how overt they went with it for Supergirl. He was working with Russia, and they were creating an evil Supergirl clone, the Russian Supergirl clone.
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't that new Civil War, didn't they have a president that looked like Trump? That they killed in the movie?
He looked like Steve Bannon or some shit.
They had a guy in the back seat of a car, and he was in a suit, and he looked a lot like a young Trump.
Well, maybe that was it. Their intention. All I know is that I'm not going to watch that movie.
I didn't
It's
watch
like,
it. I was just looking at pictures that was, sent out and stuff like that, out on
Makes no sense.
Twitter and some of the other apps. But yeah, there's a government's had their hand in entertainment since the beginning, because that's propaganda, That's how you spread propaganda, is through the government. And like right now in Canada, all the media can only say what the government gives them permission to say.
Yep.
They're not
That's
allowed
what's
to put
known as an
anything
unfree
out.
press.
They're even told that certain games they're not allowed to play. I mean, just
What?
like when you live, like when you live in a state
Canada
that doesn't
is-
have illegal gambling, right? You can't have a casino, right? So it's the same thing online. Like my sister is in Alabama and she plays this gambling game and she keeps sending me invites, and I would try to play, and it said I can't play it because it's got real money on it. You have to have real money in there. So, and I have my state, my area is, I'm in a dry county and there's no gambling, so I wasn't allowed to play. And that's
Is it
in the
an
United
app?
States.
Is it an app?
Yeah, it's an
Well,
app.
then you need to use a VPN then.
Well, what I'm saying is they put their hands in whenever they can. If they can get
Yes,
away with it,
exactly.
they're going to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we let them, then we're handing it to them. So we're like, here's the keys to my car. You can steal it anytime you want. And
Well,
I'll pay for the gas and
right.
the insurance and stuff. But you guys can drive it whenever you want. Who does that shit?
See, but that's the
us.
thing. That's the thing. That's why. But you have to go there. That's why you have to believe in states' rights. You have some states that are dry, some states that don't allow gambling, some states that you have to have, you have to be over 18 and identify yourself if you want to watch some, Cornhub, and then you have, and then you have other states that allow all this stuff. But that's again, it's your right to move or go where you want to go. If you want to get high and do stuff, go to California and do whatever you want to do. If you want to go to if you want to do hard drugs, go to Oregon, and you can do anything you want.
Don't they have assisted suicide in Oregon too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have legal euthanization.
And they do that in Canada now.
Yep.
You can do that in Canada.
Oh yeah, they do that all the time.
And they have it. I think they even just passed a law not very long ago, last year, that even a kid that's under a certain age, under 18, can do it with their doctor. They don't have to have parents' permission to help them.
Now, have you guys heard of the movies, The Equalizer, with Denzel Washington?
Yeah.
Oh,
love
yeah.
those
But
movies,
what about the other one? They made a TV show, didn't they, with a woman?
With Queen Latifah, that I'm actually getting to that. There's the show, The Equalizer, folks. I recently called that one out their most recent episode, plus a couple of past episodes I've called out too, where there's these transgenders that got kidnapped.
What?
And they were sent to re-education camps, or orientation camps. And most of the people there was a couple of black people, but most of the people there were white as the villains.
Yeah.
And it's the white couple that didn't want anything to do with their kid being trans. He's got gender dysphoria, and they were just so nasty about it. And it's like, whenever they show the opposite side of the argument, they are showing, and I have put on the record on Twitter, mind you, folks, the worst representation of it. Where our hijabi gamer, shout out to her, she called out the quartering recently, because apparently the quartering said something controversial about the pro-Palestinian stuff. But when it comes, I have told her, it's like, I have been on record on streams, on Facebook, on comment sections, every group, every organization, every political party, all that stuff are always going to be judged by their worst representatives. Because if you have Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter started out originally as with good intentions. However, their worst representatives or talking about pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. The ones walking up and down streets basically calling for the death of cops. The ones who are celebrating the deaths of cops. The ones who keep on perpetuating the cycle of racism. Unfortunately, they took over BLM. Then you also have the LGBTQ movement. All of these extremists who are trying to literally push minor attracted people to be accepted in the LGBTQ community, who are trying to push an actual mental delusion, which is the they-them situation, where nature is non-binary. And I'm sorry, but nature's binary. Hey, Hardwick, and good night, right, Kitty. Thank you for stopping in. Hardwick Benthill.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Have you ever seen the original Equalizer show from 1985? Robert McCall was played by Edward Woodard. No, I haven't. But I'll have to look for it. But the point of this show now, the version or the Equalizer show now, they can't do a single episode without pushing a social justice message.
Oh gosh.
She literally tells her daughter that she or the world is not, or that she is not special, that she's not going to be treated properly because she's black. She's telling her daughter that you're going to have to work even harder because you are black and whatnot. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you tell her that? Now, me, I don't know what it's like to be black because I'm not black. I am white. However, I do know what it's like to experience racism. I was beaten on because of the color of my skin. I was attacked because of the color of my skin. Both in jail and outside of jail, I was attacked for the color or because of the color of my skin. There are certain places you can go to in Syracuse and in central New York in which if you go to those areas, which are predominantly black neighborhoods, there's a chance that if you're white, you're going to get shot. If you're in the jails, chances are, if you're white and the majority of the group of people that you're in going down to your court date are black, chances are you're going to catch a beatdown because of the color of your skin. This is shit that I experienced, folks. Personally experienced. But I also know what it's like to have a broken household, meaning one parent or the other. I know what it's like to have the family on benefits or the parent on benefits for a bit. My father had to go on benefits for a bit after the divorce. I know what it's like to be judged by the color of my skin and for the color of my skin. I know mainly all of the black stereotypes. I've lived them all. And I'm not even black. Well, your ancestors were never slaves. Actually, my ancestors were slaves. Thank you very much for not looking into my ancestry. Because my ancestors were Irish and Scottish. They were enslaved by the British. So, tell me again. Well, your ancestors probably owned slaves. No, my ancestors came overseas to the colonies and Americas after the Civil War ended. And slavery was outlawed. Didn't own a single slave. None of my ancestors did. So, what else you got? But yeah, I can honestly say all that. But when it comes to all of the stuff in Hollywood, where they constantly are pushing that stuff, here and there and everywhere, constantly saying democracy this, democracy that, democracy this, democracy that. You will never see in Hollywood, ever, folks, where they call America a republic. You will never see it.
What's it?
And if you do see it, I will literally freaking eat my hat.
What's the difference between having a black or a black what is it called again? Bathroom or in a white bathroom? You know, the black a water cooler, a water fountain, a black water fountain back in the 30s and 40s. You know, and now they
During
have
segregation.
Yeah, now they have black only graduations, black only
Yep.
parties, you know, black, you know, people of color, blah blah blah, you know, awards ceremonies, you know, only. And I'm going, it's the same thing. What are you doing?
And here's the thing. Where do you think, or while all this stuff is going on in the world, in our society and whatnot, Hollywood will actually have episodes in their shows pushing for this stuff to actually happen.
I saw
They will
something that
never show black, or if they ever show black people in a negative light, it is only going to be a very minor situation.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember
Well, you got to remember this too. The more they show all this type of stuff, it's programmed into people's heads.
Yeah.
See?
And they're always going to
It's a
show the worst bit of it.
repeat. What happens when you see something over and over and over again? It desensitizes you
Mhm.
Yeah,
to where you're not going, oh, or you don't react anymore. It's just something. It's mundane. It's something you see all the time, so nobody gives a shit. You know, nobody notices it. They just accept it. You know.
Yep.
So
I know the president.
do it.
Yep.
Sorry.
The president. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying my father's mother, when she got divorced, she was a ticket counter girl at the local theater, and she got to become, you know, worked up her way to cashier, manager, assistant manager, and manager.
Mhm.
But the theater had it had a bathroom. It said no Mexicans, no blacks. The bathroom had that, no Mexicans, no blacks, and I saw photos of it
That was
historically.
Yeah.
And I went, wow. So she had to go to the bathroom in the kitchen area or in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, great. My grandmother had to go through this, and it's in the hometown. This is Laredo, of course. This is back in the 30s. It was crazy.
Well, yeah, back when that shit was actually.
Well, I have a story to tell too. One of my uncles, okay, you know, which you know was white. He liked black women. He was, you know, he ended up marrying a black. I have a few black cousins. Okay, they live in Vegas, and I never noticed anything. But what was interesting was when he was young, and he was I think he wasn't. I don't remember exactly what he did. I think he was a cook because he ended up becoming a chef in Vegas. The thing is, his brother, my other uncle, was a police officer, and 5 or 6 times, my uncle David would get a phone call at the police station and say, "Hey, we see someone sneaking into this house," you know, because people would report him because he was white and she was black, and they had made a dresser with a fake front on it so he could hide in there.
Oh my God.
Stuff. All kinds of stuff. They're very elaborate about it because people had to get around it, you know. So if you think about it, Sammy Davis Jr., he dated lots of white women. So as time went on, it got more and more accepting that people didn't have such a cow over it anymore. But the thing is that, you know, you can't help who you fall in love with. It has nothing to do. Love, it has nothing to do with skin tone. You know,
it transcends superficiality.
You're gonna fall in love with them, you know. It's that's just that's reality, you know, if you're around it. Now, if you're in a community where there aren't any Hispanics or there aren't any Asians or there aren't any blacks and you're white, then your chances are pretty high that you're not gonna marry an Asian or black or, you know, or Hispanic. You're gonna marry a white person. So it just depends where you grow up. I think that's why I was lucky growing up, because I grew up on military bases. But there's always a mixture of people. I never saw just white people. You see what I mean? I didn't grow up with that. So I just didn't really notice that. And I never saw people treating each other bad or anything. Everybody's very respectful. Because I didn't go to the bars and stuff. So who knows what they said at the bars, because I was a kid. But at school, you know, we had black teachers, Hispanic teachers, Asian teachers, men and women teachers. And I didn't hear any teachers ever call anybody a racial name. And I never heard any kids call other kids racial names. So
That's
There's
when I
perception. There was
yeah.
perception and
from
there's
that.
reality. The perception
Yeah.
is there's like the portrayal that things are. Then you're gonna go
Yeah.
to what's going on right now. When think about it, when the pandemic happened, and you had like Thanksgivings going on,
Yeah.
and then you basically had people who said, we're not going to invite our people or our family members who didn't get the jab. They're not invited. And that compounded on top of the people they say, oh, you voted for Trump, you're not getting invited. Where you weren't invited because you voted for Trump. But think of it this way, and then nowadays, imagine the modern love tale. He supported Trump, she supported Democrat, and then her family was after him for not loving her. That would be a storyline now that would make sense. That the guy who his family accepts it. Because again, more conservative, more open to accepting anybody. The Democrats are the ones that are locked down now.
From my point of view, from where I've been and where I've traveled and stuff, I've seen people that were, I used to think they were Christians because they, we all talked about, we prayed at dinner, all that stuff, were the ones that were accepting of everyone. And it was the people that weren't Christians that weren't accepting. That's the way I saw it as a kid. But as I got older, I realized the people that work for a living, that pay taxes, that got up every day and mowed their yards and did all that stuff, they were the ones that were accepting. They're the ones that would take their food to the shelter or give it to the homeless people or hire somebody, go down to the corner store and pick up a few people and bring them to help them clean their yard, and they'd pay them and feed them, stuff like that. So, to me, it was the more likely the Karens, and stuff are the ones that are say, fuck you, I'm not giving you my money. We were talking about this a while back, that restaurant, remember, that opened in California, and the was an actor or whatever that opened. He said people are only going to have to pay what they think they owe for the meal.
Mm-hmm.
How long did that stay open? Not very long, like 6 months or something. It was very short amount of time because, cheap asses. That's why when you had talk radio and stuff, who always made money? It was the conservatives. Why? Because people would pay for ads on conservative channels. When it was a liberal channel, they couldn't get it. They were so fucking cheap because they're so used to getting other people's money. They wouldn't even buy ads on liberal shows. So it just shows you liberals have money because they either were given the money by their parents, okay, or they inherited it, or they took someone to court to get it, or they just take your tax dollars because they work for the government. That's how I see it. I mean, somebody could send me something different.
We also, or something I mentioned earlier, is that Biden basically said the quiet part out loud when he got into office, how he was going to work with Hollywood and the partners at Hollywood to make commercials that are more representative of our modern times, how they're going to phase out white people from commercials, or how they're going to make commercials less white.
And how he's going to have rainbow flags hanging at the White House and have Easter Trans Day now, officially Trans Day instead of Easter. He's really making changes at the White House.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the Hollywood part of it, he said the quiet part out loud because it didn't start with him. It's been going on for decades, quite literally decades. Even before George Orwell did the 1984 novel, this stuff, but back then it was more subtle. Back then, it was, or after once the 2000s hit, it started to be less subtle. You actually started to hear it more and more. However, you weren't really thinking about it until the 2010s when Donald Trump announced his presidency in 2015 or 2016. When he actually announced his presidency, Hollywood freaked. George Clooney, there's not going to be a president, Donald Trump. You got Rosie O'Donnell. Donald Trump will never be president. And all of them were saying the same things over and over, and then Donald Trump won the election.
Right.
And then that was when you saw a huge change in Hollywood. Hollywood was so pissed off that Donald Trump won the election that they were going to punish, mind you, the everyday average moviegoer, the everyday average TV goer or TV watcher and whatnot.
Yeah.
They decided to push the propaganda openly. They decided to start pushing the messaging in such a way that they were basically saying, if you disagree with this, you are a bigot. You are a filthy Trump supporter. We are not here to entertain you anymore. We are here to indoctrinate you.
There's a
Folks,
list of,
go ahead.
sorry. No, I was just saying there's a list. Just to put context about presidents and their character.
Mhm.
George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Herbert Hoover, John Kennedy, and Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Those 5 men served president and did one thing. They took no salary. They donated every last penny to charities and other things. Those 5 people.
They were
I know-
president for free.
Yes, I knew Trump did that, and I knew that Kennedy did, and I knew George Washington did as well. So I wanted to find out who the other two. And the other two were Thomas Jefferson and Herbert Hoover. But that tells you right then. I go by that standard. Look at this. Why is he? You think? Oh yeah, he become president for what? Because you love America. You're doing this for America. For something, not for your own personal gain. Think about it. Trump has actually lost cachet in the mainstream because of what he's been doing, and he hasn't. What has he been doing? Fighting for America, fighting against the globalists, fighting against again what Hollywood, as the topic of this conversation, is pushing the narrative, and they're saying that he gets in there, he'll be a dictator, he'll do this, he'll do all these bad things, and again. The propaganda is horrible. And the CIA, the NSA, all the governments have been doing this for a long time. Not just the United States. The UN's been doing things. Europe's been doing things. War propaganda has been going on for a very long time. But they remember, at the bottom line, the 2 things they care about. If I see that Trump is going to do no salary and donate his everything, and on top of that, I go to the aspect of character when it comes to look at his children. Look at Biden's kids. Look at Trump's kids. The quality of the kid you have there. Take all the stuff out there. He's going to be a race. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. No reality. Hollywood's pushing one narrative, but reality says something else. So that's what we have to remember. It's crazy.
And Hardwick Bentho said, or earlier in this episode, we were talking about the Law and Order SVU episode in which a woman was raped by a black person, and yet she didn't want to turn him in because of institutionalized racism in the police, and that he wouldn't get a fair trial and yada, yada, yada. All this stuff that they push outside of Hollywood as well. But they use Hollywood to push these narratives as well. And unfortunately, they even pushed it in shows like Blue Bloods. I love Blue Bloods. And when they started pushing the woke nonsense, the good thing about Blue Bloods, though, is that they are offering the counterbalance, the counterweight to it in a way that is not extreme. They are showing both the conservative and the liberal viewpoint. They are saying this is one shot of it, this is the other shot of it. There was an episode recently where cops were villainized and their kids weren't being allowed to enroll in a private school, and it was because the parents were cops. Yeah. Well, we all see that left-wingers love to push the anti-cop propaganda and whatnot, right? Well, here's the thing. Blue Bloods is the last bastion of balanced media in which they will show that there is good side or good on both sides, where there is some liberals out there and there are some conservatives out there who are more balanced. And that is why when this season is done, it's going to be a true shame. I mean, yes, you got the actors who are now getting a lot older and up there in age, but still having that show was more balanced, and it's the last really balanced show out there.
Yeah, one thing
PBS,
that's sad is the fact that they're not putting out new writers anymore
yeah,
that write scripts or any of the stuff to help out with making TV series or movies that aren't agenda driven. You know,
nope,
what happened to all the good scripts written out there about true life stuff,
yep,
good romantic stories and stuff that have nothing to do with pushing an agenda down your throat,
now,
just entertainment. Just write
yeah,
stories and let it be a story instead of having to use it as a propaganda tool. I just don't understand why. See, that's why I'm saying I don't buy tickets to go see something that's got propaganda in it. I don't go buy tickets to movies or concerts or buy products from people that try to force their agenda on me. I mean, I remember my mom saying she wasn't going to buy anything that Jane Fonda was doing. She wouldn't go see
yeah,
movies with Jane Fonda or anything because Jane Fonda sat on a tank and called our American troops baby killers and traitors and stuff like that. So,
yep.
why
Not
would
only
you want to
Jane,
give your money, your hard-earned money, to someone who hates our veterans or our American soldiers, right? So
yep,
it's up to us. Just like I said over and over again about the Bud Light,
yep,
we can make a difference. We just say F you and don't give them our money and don't buy their beer, don't buy their products, don't buy their t-shirts or
Right.
their toys or whatever the hell they're trying to sell, and show them that we mean business. And when we do that, it makes a difference. That's why it mattered so bad at the box office when the movie bombs.
yep.
It bombs
And
because we say, hell, you aren't going to push us down that road. We're not eating your
we are
shit,
going to fight.
you
Yep,
know? And that's
we
it.
are going to
That's
fight
how
it.
we win.
Now,
I don't see any other way.
I mentioned the show Sleepy Hollow earlier.
Mhm.
Folks, that show was supposed to go for 7 seasons, 7 years, 7 seasons, because of one of
Mhm.
the main verses in the Bible of the two witnesses, and they would be on a 7-year journey together.
Yeah.
It was canceled in 2017 because 2017, we all know what happened. Trump got elected. And another thing that they wanted to phase out was a Christian valued show,
Mhm.
because Christian valued shows were, well, Trump was a Christian. Trump was a cat, or I believe he's Presbyterian or
Mhm.
something like that. He's not a Catholic, I don't think, but it doesn't matter what he is. But the fact that he was that he was pushing a very powerful religious message with his administration, well, unfortunately, shows and movies and TV shows were also starting to create these problems in which, well, people of color are being treated or not being treated fairly and this and that, when it was absolute bullshit. Another thing, folks, they love to push the propaganda of how LGBTQ hasn't had enough representation in films and whatnot. Do not ever believe that. Or lesbian or LGBTQ films, the first LGBTQ themed film was done in 1916. It was called Vingarn, and it was about this guy and a woman who were battling for the affections of another, or of a woman, of this this art model, this model.
Mhm.
And well, yeah, I do believe the woman won out. And while Europe is indeed more progressive than the United States was, we were more conservative with our viewpoints back then. Um, their movies were still welcomed over in the United States, in which LGBTQ themes were allowed in them. Transgenderism was being done in shows like CSI early on, where there was a dead transgender person, and yet they showed that people were very accepting of them. They had no problems with them at all. They also showed you the harsh medical realities of it as well. How they invert the penis in order to create a vagina, and all those other bits and snips and nips and tucks.
Well, wasn't there a movie called I'm trying to remember the name of it. Just give me a second. The Crying Game or something. And it was about a guy who falls in love with someone he thinks is a woman, and then later on he finds out it's not a woman, it was a man.
I'm not aware of that movie.
And it
I know. Yeah.
It won lots of awards and stuff because it was very well done. It was a very good, and the actor that played the woman man, the transgender, was in the Stargate movie as the god. You know, remember the young god?
Oh, yeah.
That same actor portrayed it, but they were nominated for Academy Awards. It was a really well done movie, but it was a story written that way. It wasn't an agenda driven movie changed around to fit the narrative to cram down your throat. It was written about this specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the other movie with Matthew McConaughey, and he played a drug addict. And he lost a whole bunch of weight and stuff to portray the part, and it won the Academy Award. So there can be very good stories that have drug addicts and other people with lots of problems. A person that's a prostitute. What was the name of that? Something Mary Newmar or something like that. It was about the guys that dressed as women, the transgenders group that ran around together. It was a real popular movie. See, hold on, let me look it up. See, that's what sucks.
Another good example of what Janet is talking about is Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie about Queen and Freddie Mercury. Everybody's like, well, that movie, or why do right-wingers love that movie? It has a gay person in it. Well, that was a movie that defeated the narrative that we have, or that we absolutely are intolerable. I'm a conservative, folks. I'm a constitutional conservative. I love Bohemian Rhapsody. And you want to know why? It's because I love Queen. Queen was the very first band that I absolutely acknowledged in their music and absolutely fell in love with. Freddie Mercury happened to be a gay guy. And they wanted to.
He was gay? Just kidding.
Yeah.
I found it. It's called, it says on here, it's called To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. And it had Wesley Snipes, Patrick Swayze, and John Leguizamo. And it was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And it was about 3 people that dressed up as women and did drag shows and stuff. And it was huge. And I never heard any woman say, oh my God, he dressed up as a woman. I'm never going to ever look at him again. No. He's disgusting. Nobody did that shit. Everybody accepted it because it was made that way. It was a movie made to portray that. Tootsie.
It was made for entertainment. It wasn't made
it was made for the entertainment, not to cram a thing down your throat. See, I don't understand why all of a sudden they felt they had an agenda to shove down our throat and not just make good entertainment. Birdcage was a huge hit, but it wasn't a movie that was being crammed down our throat. You know, people bought tickets because they wanted to see these actors portray these characters. You even got one of my favorite badass, kick-ass actors to dress up as a woman at the very end to sneak out. Gene Hackman. Who would have ever thought Gene Hackman would dress up as a woman? But the thing is that it can be done. You can put gays and lesbians and transgenders in movies and TV shows and not make it a propaganda targeted to target young kids or anything. It's simply made because that's what the characters are about. And it can be good entertainment. And people, regular everyday people, like our grandparents used to be, would buy tickets and go see it because it was entertainment, not because it was, and not go there and get up and leave halfway through simply because it was agenda trying to be crammed down their throat. So if they would just go back, what was it, in the 90s when the last time I remember seeing good movies with that agenda? I mean, like Victoria was one of my mother's favorite movies.
Yeah.
Bohemian
It was a
Rhapsody,
musical, and I love it. And I had Bruce reviewed it with me, and it was a great movie, and it was very well done. It was very entertaining, and you had a bunch of great stars in it. But the thing is, you didn't feel like you were being held down against your will when you watched the movie. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And
Have you ever
it was
seen Bohemian
nominated for
Rhapsody?
a bunch of awards. But the thing is that you can have good entertainment without having to have an agenda
I
for
have.
TV or anything.
I saw
Have
it.
you ever? Yeah. Has Janet seen it?
Seen
Bohemian
what?
Rhapsody.
Yes, I loved it. I thought it was
That's
great.
that is a great example of a movie that was made about or with LGBTQ theme in it, and that was a recent movie, like within the last few years.
Had
And yet,
excellent music in it.
yeah,
But to me, I loved it because it showed his growth from the beginning and when he fell in love with a woman, okay, and he treated her like she was the best thing ever happened to him. But as his life progressed and he went up and down with the things that were happening to him in his life, drugs, alcohol, and stuff like that, he realized that he was gay, maybe because he didn't realize it before because it just wasn't ever anything that came across his, life because of the way he lived his life with his family.
Early in
but the thing is, the story was good.
Yeah.
And it was factual as close as possible. I mean, all about how he was always in love with her. He just because he was gay didn't mean he couldn't fall in love with a woman, and he did.
He loved her, but they remained friends. They
remained friends. She loved him. She loved him. They loved each other. You can love someone and not be in love with them. Okay, there's a difference.
And
but they loved each other. They were the very bestest of they were very close. I mean, they had a really tight relationship.
And a lot of people,
it was devastating. I cried my eyes out when he found out that she had a baby, with the other man, because he really wanted a child of his own, stuff like that. It was just a very well-made movie. I just loved it. I thought it was really, really good.
And the wonderful thing about it is that movie also served to destroy the narrative of, well, right-wingers hate LGBTQ people. It's like, then why did we like Bohemian Rhapsody? Why did we think that movie was not woke? Because one, the man's life, or that was the man's life. He was gay. We have no problem with it.
Yeah.
His music.
Look at Elton John. No. How could Elton John have been as rich or ever have a career that lasted as long as his without straight white people buying tickets to all his concerts and buying his albums? He would never have ever been as rich and famous as he was, because not everyone in the world is gay.
Yeah.
Or lesbian.
And it's like everybody's saying, well, that movie didn't do as good as Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like, well, maybe because Bohemian Rhapsody differed from the Elton John movie Rocket Man was Rocket Man actually went into gay sexual intercourse.
Yeah.
Where Bohemian Rhapsody had men kissing, yes. They never went into the sexual. Never went into the sexual intercourse, though.
But I was talking about. Look at both bands. You got the band Queen, and then you also had Elton John. But look at their careers. And David Bowie, look how flamboyant he was. Lots of people thought he was gay. But look who he ended up with. Damn, she was hot. He ended up with a really good one. She loved him. They loved each other. It was a wonderful romance. So it is possible for somebody in Hollywood to marry and have a long-lasting relationship if they're true to each other, which they were. Love stories are great no matter whose story it is. You want to hear about it. You want to hear someone who's happy, that can fall in love and go through all the turmoils of cheating and drugs and alcohol and whatever else, but still stay in love. I mean, I'm a tomboy big time, but I'm very romantic. I love romance. I love hearing about romance. I love watching people hold hands when they're walking, and the man pulling the chair out for the woman, and all that stuff. I just love that. And guy giving girls flowers they picked off the side of the road, all those things. A man cooking a meal for a woman, or her fixing him chicken noodle soup when he's sick. All those things, that means something to me when I see people being able to do that with each other. And when you see it in movies, okay, people say, oh, that doesn't happen in real life. It does happen, okay?
It can.
That's what's great about really good movies, that don't try to force anything. They make a movie about a story that's inspiring, whether it's from a book or from a poem, or it's just a written script, or it's based on a play. Like Best Little Whorehouse in Texas was a play made into a movie, and it was a huge hit. And it had all the earmarks of the Christians hating it, because who's going to go see a movie where people are singing and dancing about their pride in their whorehouse, for their city? I mean, there's lots of stuff like that in movies in Hollywood that are entertaining, and Christians paid to buy tickets. People that actually believe in God bought tickets to go see Dolly Parton portray herself as a woman who ran a chicken ranch. So, but the thing is that it wasn't an agenda where you felt like you were being beat over the head with it while you were watching the movie. It was entertainment. You were there to be entertained, and you left happy at the end and felt like, wow, I want to see that again, or I'm going to ask my sister to go see it with me, or whatever it is. A good movie makes a lot of money not because of one going to see it once. It's because we go see it multiple times, and then we also buy it when it comes out, when it's on theater. That's entertainment. That's why huge hits are huge, because people want to see it multiple times.
And believe me, folks, there are movies that I enjoy, and sometimes, yes, in some of those movies, there is the stuff that I've been talking about, where it is political messaging. However, it is so freaking low on the spectrum that it can pass by innocuously. Now, again, movies like Armageddon, The Rock, which I call the President Anderson duology, because it's the same the same person as the president.
Yeah.
Those movies, yes, the president is a Democrat. And when it does come to movies and entertainment in which there is a political person who is a villainous character, that character is made a Republican. Now, a lot of people will say, well, they don't necessarily say that specifically. They may not say the party specifically, but if you look at, the tie color of their ties, their bow ties and whatnot, red is one of the villainous. There's something that villainous politicians wear in Hollywood in the shows. That was one of the specific colors that the character in Castle, who murdered the detective's mom, was wearing when he was running for president. And yet he got caught and arrested and whatnot. But yet, folks, this is the stuff that needs to be, or that people need to be aware of. The messaging is overt now. We see it now, yes. But until we can actually see a real change where Hollywood has to get over themselves. Well, or unfortunately, they're blacklisting people who have a sense of reason. Kevin Sorbo, James Woods. James Woods is such a great actor. I loved him in Shark. Great show. I also loved him in a few other movies too. John Carpenter's Vampires is just such a great freaking film, even though it's cheesy as fuck. But when you see these guys who are no longer acting because, well, they are conservative and whatnot, it shows you that Hollywood is indeed blacklisting conservatives. They want to push democracy. They want to push the Democrat positions and whatnot. And unfortunately, they're not hiding it anymore. It's out there, and they continue to push it because they want that message out there. We need to do things like putting the Pledge of Allegiance back in schools. We need things in which kids are taught proper history, that we are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. They need to stop, or shows need to stop doing that. They need to start referring to our country as a republic with a democratic vote. Yes. They also need to stop pushing like the Equalizer show, where last week's show, not yesterday's show, but last week's show had the daughter of her character get arrested for going to a protest against climate change because it got out of control, and yet they rounded up everybody because of a couple of characters who got out of control, yet they arrested her even though she wasn't part of the violent rioters. So yet they're pushing that. It's like, okay, she was arrested simply for being at a protest about or against a right-wing thing of a person saying that climate change is full or is bullshit or a hoax and whatnot. It is. Now is climate shift a thing? Yes. Climate change, not so much. But when they're pushing these subtle things, transgenderism is evil.
There was a TV show, wasn't there, for a little bit, that was Will and Grace.
Yeah.
That was a big hit, wasn't it? And it had a gay character, 2 gay guys on that. And then also there was a TV show called 6 Feet Under.
Never saw that. Hey.
Okay. And I loved 6 Feet Under. I watched all 6 seasons of it. And it says on here that it was on HBO. So, not everybody could see it. But the final series was one of the greatest television series finales, it says. The series won numerous awards, including 9 Emmys, 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and a Peabody Award.
That was super woke.
How does a show that is, about, has a lot of gay stuff in it, because the one main character, which isn't really gay, had gay lovers and things like that in it, but it wasn't agenda driven that I noticed.
Well, to me, I remember when that show came out, and I said, "Fuck this show! I'm never going to watch it."
Well, see, I wanted to watch it. I wanted to watch it simply for the fact about it being a show based on a funeral home, right? The dad owns a funeral home, and the 2 sons are raised by the mom, and they live in the funeral home. They had a thing down under in the basement, and then John Leguizamo, or no, it wasn't him. I can't remember what his name is. Yeah, it's not him. It's another actor, but he was Hispanic, Puerto Rican, or whatever. He was the assistant to the dad at the bodies and stuff. So after the dad dies, the younger son ends up, and that's the guy that played Dexter later on. Don't remember what his name is right this second. He was the one that took over for the dad to keep the funeral service running, because the older brother said, "Hell no, I don't want to do it." Right. So it was basically the younger daughter drove a hearse to school, and she was teased because she was weird. I just liked it. I thought it was a very well done. The music, I bought every album for the music for every season, because the music was freaking cool and great. I really liked it. But the thing is the acting was top notch. And I I just loved it. I thought it was a very well done show. And I happened to have HBO and watch one of the episodes. And then when Dexter came out after that later with the same Michael C. Hall, I think this is his name,
Yeah.
the same actor that was in 6 Feet Under, I was like, I was going to watch it because I thought he was so good in 6 Feet Under. And the fact that he can sing and dance, and he did Broadway and stuff too. I just thought, wow, this guy's really talented. And I really liked him. So.
Yeah.
And he was married, so he wasn't gay, but in real life. But he did a great job portraying the character. Yeah, see, that's
A
because he was
likely
a good
story.
actor. That's
A
why
likely story.
Maybe he's bi. I don't know, but
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I never saw when Will and Grace came out the first time. I stopped watching NBC. That's how conservative I just.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't want to watch it, but the thing is, it's not trying to make you watch it or say that you're.
But it's pushing. But it's pushing the agenda of making it
games
normalized.
because you won't watch their show.
That's how it started.
I know a lot of girls that didn't watch it just because they just said it wasn't. I didn't watch the show. What was that guy? That Doogie Howser guy? I never watched any of his shows. I just didn't like the kind of comedy that was in it. I just thought, it's okay.
Same.
But he was a good actor when I saw him in Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw him in that and I was like, you know what? He can actually act. Because I actually got to watch him through a whole movie. And, because I had to watch it anyways.
But the epitome of movies was Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Yeah, it was good though. But, but that's what I'm saying. There's been lots of movies. If you just sat down and look at all the movies in the last 20 years leading up to now, with how many gays or lesbians or transgenders or whatever were in it, the stories and the, huge movies that were very successful. I just don't understand why they felt like all of a sudden they had to start making everything about gays and lesbians and everything about transgenders. You see? It's like every time you turn around, they had to have and nowadays in Hollywood, you have to be a real gay person to play a gay person. It's like they're not even worrying about whether they can act anymore. It has to be, if you don't have a leg missing, you can't play a leg person with a leg missing. It's gotten ridiculous. They've gotten it so bad that we're going to get worse and worse stuff. Simply because they can't hire anyone that can act. They have to hire someone because they're missing a limb or because they're really gay, or they have to have boobs and a dick, stuff like that. It just doesn't make any sense. Instead of it being acting, which is mean you portraying someone for entertainment, here I am pretending I have an arm missing, I don't know. It's just gotten stupid. It's just really stupid.
And with that, folks, it is at the 2-hour point. I did say that we are not going to go more than 2 hours.
I'm sorry, I had problems with my computer at the beginning.
No, it's all right. But essentially watch, or if you pay attention to the shows that I've mentioned, Bones, Castle. Let me go through the list again.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Bones, Castle, House, The Shield, The Equalizer, Legends of Tomorrow, Law and Order, SVU, even Hallmark shows like The Way Home, Supergirl, FBI Most Wanted, FBI International, all those movies and shows. If you pay close attention to them, you will literally learn of the bias in politics, or if political stuff has been put in there, that you will never see that there are left-wing extremists. And if they ever do it, it is extremely few and far between. Most of the political extremists that you will see in these shows and movies are right-wing. They will explode or exaggerate their policies or their beliefs to the absolute maximum of bigotry. So pay attention when you are watching these shows. You will see it for yourselves. Go back and watch these shows if you have, or if you've seen them before, but go back and actually pay close attention to what they say. Pay close attention to what is in the background. House did a lot of Obama propaganda during 2008, where they were saying vote for change and whatnot. And then, well, we all saw what happened there. But definitely pay attention to this stuff and ask yourselves, can we get back or go to a point or get to a point where this stuff can be excised from our entertainment? Entertainment is supposed to entertain. It is never supposed to be political propaganda, because that is when freedom literally goes out the door. You have the unfree press. You have the propaganda films that China does for their own satisfaction to boost up their own economies and whatnot. Having that here is imperialism. You are basically saying, if you don't agree with what we are putting in these shows, you are a part of the problem and you should be essentially exiled. But yes, pay close attention, because this is one of the most important lessons that I can teach my viewers and teach people who watch, that this sort of stuff is present. And if you are going to let kids, if you have kids, watch this stuff, let them know that, or make them aware of the facts before they go in. America is a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. These people pushing this narrative inside these shows is grossly exaggerated to the point of absolute stupidity. And it should not be taken at face value. You need to explain to people that this stuff is not true. A lot of this stuff that they're pushing is propaganda. Anyway, thank you to Janet and Ruben for coming in. Unfortunately, Kate couldn't make it. She had to take care of things. But thank you to everybody in the chat and everybody who watched on X. We had the majority of our people on X, 27 people. Holy shit.
Great.
Thank you to Riot Kitty, Hardwick Society, Nihilus, Christian Freights, and everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow is going to be the final theme stream of April, where I discuss the Predator franchise, movies, video games, and whatnot that I really liked about the Yautjas, which are the Predators. And May is Star Wars themed theme streams. I will be either discussing different themes of the Star Wars universe, not the Disney stuff, but the EU, as well as the movies and whatnot. I'll discuss my thoughts on different sections of them and whatnot. It's not going to be just blatant movie reviews. Also for May, me and Mara are doing Wesley Snipes May, where the 1s and 2s are going to be Blade 1 and 2, as well as the singles are going to be Murder at 1600, well, a rather political film, and another rather political film, Demolition Man. So
the epitome.
Yeah.
What's going on now?
Make sure that you tune in on those ones too, folks. So anyway, thank you to my panelists, Janet and Ruben from the Shit Show on Janet's channel. Friday night, we do the Shit Show on her channel, and it's Orange Hat Uncensored on mine.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do this one because I wanted to make people more aware that Hollywood has or is more influential than people give it credit for, because they are actually working with Washington, D.C. And what?
Gaming is too.
Gaming, yes. Gaming is also getting up there as well. But anyway, folks, that is going to be the stream. You all have a wonderful night. I'm going to get some sleep after this. So have a wonderful night. And always remember to stay humble.